My sister pushed my 15-year-old son out of his wheelchair. At our family reunion, telling him, "Stop faking for attention." Everyone laughed. They didn't know his therapist had filmed everything, or that my son would tell the judge exactly who hurt him. Hey, Reddit! My parents always funded my sister's failed businesses while telling me money was tight. I kept my mouth shut and managed. Then their negligence put my 15-year-old son in a wheelchair, and suddenly I couldn't ignore the pattern anymore. What happened next destroyed the family. Let me start from the beginning. I'm 43, industrial safety inspector, married to Lindsay for 17 years. We have one son, Evan, who just turned 15. My job is pretty straightforward. I identify hazards before they cause injury, spot structural weaknesses, inadequate supports, failure points waiting to collapse. I'm good at pattern recognition, seeing problems before they happen. Turns out I'm better at spotting those problems at work than in my own family. My parents are retired, live in a big house with a pool about 20 minutes away. My sister Caroline is 39. She's the golden child, always has been. 3 failed startups, all funded by our parents. Meanwhile, I paid my own way through community college while she got the university fund. It didn't really bother me until Evan's accident 18 months ago. He fell through the rotted deck at my parents' house during a family barbecue, shattered his L3 vertebra, 9-hour surgery, permanent nerve damage, chronic pain. He uses a wheelchair most days now. The deck I'd told them needed repair. The deck they'd nodded about and ignored. The deck they could have fixed with the money they were wiring Caroline for her 3rd business venture. I didn't sue. Didn't make it a thing. Just focused on Evan's recovery and kept my mouth shut about whose negligence put him in that chair. I knew it was going to be a bad day when my sister Caroline showed up to the reunion in her brand new Lexus. Not because I cared what she drove, but because my parents had told me 2 weeks ago they couldn't help with the $3,000 wheelchair cushion Evan needed. Too expensive, Dad said. Times are tight, Mom added. There she was with my parents, standing beside the car, taking photos for Facebook. Evan sat in his wheelchair next to our 12-year-old Toyota, watching. I could see the calculations happening behind his eyes. My wife Lindsay touched my arm. Let it go. 2 hours. We can manage 2 hours. The reunion was at my parents' house. Big backyard. Except they'd set up all the food tables on the back patio, which was 3 steps down from the main level. No ramp, no accessibility consideration. I'd mentioned this 2 weeks ago. Asked if there'd be ramp access. Mom had said she'd handle it. She hadn't. Hey, Mom, where should we set up? I asked, gesturing to Evan's chair. She looked confused. What do you mean? There's no ramp. Evan can't get down to the patio. Oh, well, can't you just carry him down? Lindsay's hand tightened on my arm. He weighs 140 pounds, Mom. The chair's another 30, and it's not dignified. Well, I don't know what you want me to do about it now. Maybe you can just bring him a plate? She walked away before I could respond, heading straight for Caroline. Evan hadn't said anything. He'd gotten good at that over the past 18 months, at being quiet while people talked about him like he was a logistics problem. We can stay up here, Lindsay said quietly. It's fine. It wasn't fine. We spent the next hour sitting on the upper level while everyone else ate and laughed below us. A few relatives came up to say hi. My Uncle Rob brought extra food and sat with us. He'd invited Kyle, Evan's physical therapist, to the reunion. Kyle kept his distance, chatting with other guests. Caroline came up once. Big performance. Hugged Evan, took a selfie, posted it instantly, then disappeared. Later, Dad called everyone for a family photo. I started wheeling Evan toward the group. Actually, Mom said, stepping forward, maybe Evan can be in back? The wheelchair's just visually, you know. Lindsay went rigid. Visually what? I asked. For the photo. It's distracting. Can he stand for one picture? He can stand for 3 minutes before the nerve pain gets severe. You don't have to be so dramatic. That's when Caroline moved. Fast. She was behind Evan's wheelchair, hands gripping the handles, and she jerked it backward. Evan, honey, come on, she started. Voice soft, then it shifted. I know this is hard, but you need to push yourself. Just stand for the photo. She shook the chair. Once. Hard. Evan's head snapped forward, then back, his whole body jolting, his face going pale. It's just encouragement, someone said. My Aunt Linda. I was across the space in 3 strides, my hands on her wrists, pulling them off. Do not touch him. Back up. Now. Caroline's face shifted. The concern dropped. He can walk? He's being stubborn. You baby him too much. We're leaving. I turned the chair, started walking. See? Caroline called behind us. He gets so defensive. Someone laughed. Jake. I saw him pull out his phone, but by then we were already moving. Caroline's just trying to help, Mom's voice. 30 people standing there, watching Evan shake. Not one stepped in. Kyle had moved closer during the confrontation. When Caroline grabbed the chair, he'd pulled out his phone. Got the whole thing. Lindsay grabbed our bags. Rob appeared at the gate. I'm sorry, I should have warned you they've been escalating. Kyle showed me his phone. I got it. The grab and the shake. If you need it. I nodded. Couldn't speak. We loaded Evan into the car. His hands were shaking too badly to manage the transfer himself. Pain level? I asked quietly. 7, maybe 8. I grabbed the emergency pain kit, handed him water and medication. The drive was silent except for Evan's controlled breathing. We pulled into our driveway as the sun was setting. Our small house with the ramp I'd built myself, the widened doorways and modified bathroom, the space we'd created where he didn't have to prove anything. My phone started buzzing before we made it inside. Text from my Aunt Linda. Caroline's really worried about Evan. Maybe you overreacted? Another from a cousin I hadn't spoken to in 2 years. Family sticks together, praying for you all. Lindsay's phone lit up next. She glanced at the screen and her jaw tightened. Someone posted a prayer request. For our family. Says we're going through a difficult time and Evan needs support. Evan was in the hallway. He'd heard. Can I see? Lindsay hesitated, then showed him. The post had 43 comments already. People saying they'd pray. People asking what happened. One comment from someone at the reunion. Such a sad situation. That poor boy. Evan handed the phone back. Went to his room without a word. That night, after Evan went to bed early, Lindsay and I sat at the kitchen table with her laptop. She pulled up Caroline's Instagram. The selfie with Evan had over 2,000 likes. Caption: so proud of my nephew's incredible strength through adversity. Hashtag disability, inspiration, hashtag family first, hashtag blessed. The comments praised her. What an amazing aunt. So supportive. Not one person knew that an hour after taking that photo, she'd grabbed his wheelchair and shaken it. She used him, Lindsay said quietly. I didn't answer, just stared at the screen. She physically grabbed him in front of 30 witnesses and then posted about how inspiring he is. I stared at the caption. So what are we doing about it? I looked at my wife, at the woman who'd spent 18 months fighting for our son without ever treating him like he was broken. I'm done choosing peace, I said. The call started 3 days later, not to apologize, to tell me I'd embarrassed them. He's 15, Mom said. He needs to learn we can't always get what we want, like standing in pain so Caroline can make a point. Don't be dramatic. She was encouraging him. I hung up. Dad called back. You've been different since the accident. Angry, defensive. My son has permanent nerve damage because your deck collapsed. A deck I told you needed repair, while you funded Caroline's business. Yeah, I'm defensive. Silence. That's not fair. You don't get to rewrite reality. We're done here. I hung up. Blocked them both. Kyle had sent the video file with a single line. Physical interference with a mobility device. Use it however you need to. Lindsay started keeping notes. Screenshots. Dates. Simple documentation. 2 weeks later, they showed up unannounced. Saturday morning. Pushed past Lindsay. Caroline with them. I was upstairs with Evan. When I came down, they were in my living room. We need to talk, Caroline said, voice soft. We're concerned about Evan. About how isolated he seems. Lindsay was recording. He's getting everything he needs. Are you sure? Mom asked gently. People are worried. You've become so protective. I'm following medical advice from 3 specialists. But are you listening to Evan? Caroline leaned forward. Have you asked him what he wants? Get out. They stared. Get out of my house. Now. We're just trying to help, Dad said. You showed up uninvited. You're questioning my parenting. Leave. Caroline's expression flickered. You're making a mistake. People are watching. I pulled out my phone. You have 30 seconds before I call police. They left. Mom turned at the door. We're not giving up on him. After they left, Lindsay backed up the video. I called a lawyer Monday morning. Mary, disability rights specialist. Does your son attend public school? Yes. Are your parents listed as emergency contacts? I hadn't thought about that. Remove them immediately. Same with medical providers, before they try something else. I spent Monday afternoon updating paperwork. Removed my parents and Caroline from everything. Made Lindsay and Uncle Rob the only contacts. I called the clinic. Spoke with Rachel, a disability advocate. I need to make sure my family can't get information about Evan. I'll update his file. Add notes that they're unauthorized. We'll document any contact attempts. That weekend, they tried again. Sunday morning. They rang the doorbell repeatedly. Made enough noise that neighbors came out. I stayed inside, recording through the Ring camera. We're not leaving until you talk to us, Dad called. Then I'm calling the police. I called. 2 officers arrived. By then, neighbors were watching. The officers listened to both sides. One looked tired. This is a civil matter. Family dispute. It's trespassing. I've asked them to leave multiple times. He turned to my parents. You folks need to leave. If you don't, we can cite you for trespassing. Mom started crying. They left. The second officer gave me his card. File for a restraining order. Makes our job easier. I filed the paperwork Monday morning. Coach Bennett ran adaptive sports. Evan had joined 3 months ago. Bennett pulled me aside after practice. Your sister's been calling around, asking if Evan seems withdrawn. If you're controlling. She's building a narrative. What did you tell her? That I don't discuss participants. But if you need it, I keep records showing Evan's thriving. That night, Evan was quiet. Why is Aunt Caroline telling people you won't let me see Grandma and Grandpa? Because the truth doesn't make her look good. People are asking me about it, but nobody asks me what I want. Do you want to see them? Long silence. Not like this. Not with them acting like I'm some tragic thing. You decide who gets access to you. 2 days later, a letter arrived. 3 pages. Last paragraph, grandparents' rights, potential legal action. They were threatening to sue. I sent it to Mary. She called back. They can petition, but they need to prove it's in the child's best interest. Your documentation makes that difficult. What now? Keep documenting. I'm sending a cease and desist. They need to stop. The cease and desist went out. Mom called within minutes. Her voicemail. How dare you? We're his grandparents. You're sick. I saved it. Uncle Rob called that night. He lived 2 blocks from my parents and was the only family member still taking their calls. They're losing it. Your mom's telling everyone you've gone crazy. Caroline's posting about toxic parents. And there's something else. Your parents took a home equity line, $95,000, 3 months ago, for Caroline's startup. I remembered being 23, asking them for $5,000 to get certified in a field that would have doubled my income. They'd said no. Money was tight. They told me they couldn't afford Evan's $3,000 cushion. Yeah, not anger. Something colder. Evan's breaking point came on a Wednesday in early October, 4 months after the reunion. Lindsay met me at the door when I got home. Her face was tight. Caroline showed up at school today. During lunch, walked into the cafeteria with a gift bag, made a whole production of it, took photos with Evan, posted them before she even left campus. Evan told me later what it looked like from his table. He'd been sitting with 3 friends, normal lunch, talking about some video game update, trying to be just another kid eating mediocre pizza. Then the cafeteria doors opened and Caroline walked in. The room shifted immediately. Phones came out. Fast. Like everyone could sense the performance before it even started. She spotted him, walked straight over, knelt down beside his wheelchair even though he was at table height, voice loud enough to carry. Evan, sweetheart, I've missed you so much. His hands went cold. Stomach dropped, jaw locked tight. That internal panic of don't make a scene, don't make it worse, just get through this. One of his friends whispered, "Is that your aunt?" And suddenly he wasn't Evan anymore. He was a spectacle. The disabled kid with family drama, everyone watching. Caroline pulled out the gift bag. Expensive chocolate from that downtown place. Set it in front of him like an offering. I just want everyone here to know I'm here for you. Always. Translation. Reject me and you look cruel. She took his hand. He pulled it back. Please leave, he said. Flat, quiet. Her expression flickered. Hurt, concerned, perfectly calibrated for the dozen phones recording. I'm not giving up on you, honey. I'll always fight for you. No matter what anyone says. She stood, touched his shoulder, left. Evan sat frozen while his friends tried to pretend everything was normal. Then someone at the next table read the Instagram caption out loud. Never giving up on my nephew. Family is forever. Hashtag disability awareness. Hashtag unconditional love. Someone laughed. Someone else liked it. Evan watched the post spread in real time. Watched himself become content. That's when he realized this wasn't about connection. This was farming engagement off his humiliation. How did she get in? Substitute at the front desk. New person. They never checked the name against the restricted list. Just buzzed her in when she said she was family. And they just let her walk into the cafeteria? Didn't stop her until students started recording. Then they acted like it was a desk mistake, not a security breach. I found Evan in his room, on his bed, not in his chair, staring at his hands. Mom told me what happened. She brought expensive chocolate, the kind from that fancy place downtown, took pictures of herself handing them to me, posted it with some caption about never giving up on family. Everyone at school thinks she's amazing and I'm the problem. You're not the problem. Then why does it feel like I am? His voice cracked. She keeps showing up, keeps performing. And people eat it up. They see the photos and the captions and they think she's this incredible aunt who won't give up on her disabled nephew. They don't see that she's never actually here, that she only shows up when there are cameras, that she grabbed my wheelchair and shook it 4 months ago. I know. I'm so tired. I'm tired of being the sad part of everyone's day. Grandma and Grandpa look at me like I'm broken. Aunt Caroline uses me for content. Random people at school treat me like I'm inspiring just for existing. I didn't ask for any of this. I just wanted to be a normal kid. I sat on the edge of his bed. Waited. You know what the worst part is? He continued. She doesn't even know me. Like, at all. She brought chocolate. I'm lactose intolerant. Have been since I was 8. She doesn't know that. She doesn't know anything about me. But she's got 2,000 likes on that post about how much she loves me. You want to know something? He looked at me. You get to decide who gets access to you. Not me. Not mom. You. If you never want to see your grandparents again, we don't see them. If you want Caroline blocked from everything, she's blocked. That's up to you. You do that without hesitation. What about family obligations? Family obligations are earned, not automatic. I'm done keeping peace with people who treat you like a prop for their social media performance. He was quiet for a long time. I don't want them around. Not until they actually apologize. Like, really apologize. The kind where they say what they did wrong and how they'll do better. Not just, sorry you're upset. Done. You think they will? Honestly? No. But that's their choice, not your problem. Something in his face settled, like a weightlifting. Okay, thanks, Dad. The next morning, I sat in my car outside the school for 5 minutes, hands tight on the steering wheel, thinking about Evan in that cafeteria. The looks from other kids. The video spreading. I called the principal directly. We need to talk about yesterday. I've already spoken with the front desk staff. That's not enough. Caroline lied to gain access. She violated campus security. She approached my son without permission. She took photos and posted them publicly. Silence. I need her banned from campus. Officially. In writing. That seems harsh. Your staff gave her access. My son was humiliated. The incident is now on social media being used to paint a false narrative. Let me speak with the superintendent. And while you're at it, let them know that if my son isn't safe at this school, I'm removing him. The callback came 2 days later. Not that afternoon. 2 days of waiting while my son went to school, wondering if she'd show up again. We're formally restricting Caroline from campus. Any future violations will result in police involvement. And the staff member? They've been counseled on procedure. Not trained. Counseled. Like it was a minor mistake. I want written confirmation of the restriction. You'll have it within a week. End of business today. Or I escalate. The confirmation arrived at 4:30. I updated the same restrictions with the clinic. We've had 2 calls this week from someone claiming to be Evan's aunt. Can you document each call? Already done. Mary called on a Tuesday in late October, 5 months after the reunion. They filed petition for grandparents' visitation rights. Once they filed for visitation, everything got pulled under the same case. Court date is 8 weeks out, early December. Can they win? Unlikely, but they're alleging you're using Evan's disability to control access. All lies. I know. Send me everything. Your documentation timeline. Kyle's statement carries weight. Evan will likely be questioned. He can do that. Good. Start building the timeline. That night, the kitchen table became a command center. Laptop, printer, 3 manila folders, stack of sticky notes, coffee going cold. Lindsay labeled folders out loud, her voice steady but her hands shaking slightly. School. She dropped in incident reports, the cafeteria documentation, the campus ban confirmation, medical, specialist notes, physical therapy logs, pain management records, 18 months of proof that we weren't exaggerating, trespassing, ring camera footage, police reports, the cease and desist letter, timestamps on every violation, social media, screenshots, Caroline's posts with dates, the reunion selfie with its 2,000 likes, every performative caption saved and dated. I pulled up the reunion video again, watched it frame by frame, paused on the exact moment Caroline's hands gripped the wheelchair handles, the jerk backward, Evan's head snapping forward, footsteps in the hallway. Evan stood there in his pajamas, looking at the spread across our table, the evidence of what his family had become. Am I the reason you have to do this? Lindsay and I both looked up. No, I said. Clean. Simple. They're the reason. He nodded slowly. Disappeared back down the hall. I closed the laptop, stacked the folders, put them in a black binder. Lindsay watched me slide it into my work bag. If they want court, I said, they're getting court. It got ugly. Caroline launched a social media campaign. Posts about grandparents' rights, about disabled children needing family support, never used names. But everyone knew. Evan's school counselor called. Students had seen things online. Uncle Rob called with updates. Caroline's startup is failing. 3 months behind on payments. Your parents' home equity line is maxed. They're scrambling. Why tell me this? Because desperate people do desperate things. That conversation would come up later. Mary told me it was good I'd held firm. The deposition happened 3 weeks before court. Their lawyer was smooth, mid-50s, practiced sympathy. He started reasonable, then pivoted. Evan uses a wheelchair, but he can walk. Is that correct? He can walk short distances with assistance and significant pain. His physical therapist recommends the wheelchair to prevent further nerve damage. But he's physically capable of walking, with limitations that make it unsafe and painful. Your parents suggested he stand for a photo. That seems reasonable. No. What's reasonable is accepting that my son uses a wheelchair. What's not reasonable is expecting him to perform able-bodied for convenience. The lawyer made a note. You left abruptly. We left after my sister physically grabbed my son's wheelchair and shook it while demanding he prove he needs it. According to witnesses, she was trying to encourage him. According to video documentation from his physical therapist, she grabbed his mobility device without consent and shook it hard enough to cause pain and trigger a neuropathic flare. That stopped him. One incident was enough to cut off all contact? It's not one incident. It's a pattern. The reunion was the breaking point. My parents funded my sister's businesses while refusing a $3,000 wheelchair cushion. They made their home inaccessible after I requested accommodations. They defended her. They showed up at my house repeatedly. 18 months of showing us where we rank. Mary objected strategically throughout. You did well, she said afterward. The video documentation is key. Evan's deposition was the following week. Do you love your grandparents? I used to. I don't know anymore. Why the change? Because they act like I'm broken. They wanted me out of photos because my wheelchair looked bad. They funded Aunt Caroline instead of helping with my medical equipment. They defended her when she grabbed my wheelchair. They keep saying they love me, but they don't act like it. Do you want to see them? Not like this. Not when they think I'm the problem. Not when they're fighting in court to force access instead of apologizing. If the court orders visitation, would you comply? If I have to, but I won't pretend. If they want a relationship, they have to accept who I actually am. And I don't think they can. Court day arrived in mid-December, 8 months after the reunion. My parents showed up with Caroline, all dressed conservatively, playing concerned family. The judge was a woman in her 60s. She'd reviewed everything. Their lawyer argued grandparents' rights, extended family importance, how one incident shouldn't justify complete cutoff. Then Mary presented our case. The deck collapse, the inaccessible reunion, Kyle's video, the unauthorized access attempts, the repeated trespassing, the pattern of prioritizing Caroline's business over Evan's medical needs. She presented Kyle's written statement, Coach Bennett's documentation, Rachel's professional assessment, the school incident reports, the ring camera footage. This isn't about one bad day, Mary said. This is about 8 months of documented harassment. These grandparents had multiple opportunities to respect boundaries. They chose to escalate. The judge asked to speak with Evan directly. He wheeled himself forward. Son, I've read your deposition. You don't want to see your grandparents? Not until they actually apologize. For real. What would a real apology look like? Admitting what they did wrong. All of it. The inaccessible reunion. The $95,000 they gave Aunt Caroline while saying they couldn't afford my medical equipment. Defending her when she grabbed my wheelchair. Showing up after being told to stay away. All of it. And then showing through actions that things would be different. That's very specific. I've had 8 months to think about it. The judge looked at my parents. Do you want to respond? Mom started crying. We love him. We miss him. That's not an apology. Dad tried. We made mistakes, but cutting us off seems extreme. Still not an apology. She looked at Caroline. Anything to add? Caroline stood. Your Honor, I think... Sit down. I've seen the video. I know the difference between a coached child and one speaking from experience. She turned back to Evan. You have the right to decide who has access to you. You have the right to expect that people who claim to love you will respect your boundaries and treat you with dignity. Those rights don't disappear because someone is related to you. She closed the file. Petition denied. The petitioners have failed to demonstrate that court-ordered visitation would be in the child's best interest. Furthermore, given the documented pattern of boundary violations, I'm extending protective measures. Petitioners are to have no contact with the minor child, his parents, his school, or medical providers for 12 months. Violations will result in legal consequences. She looked directly at my parents. If you want a relationship with your grandson, earn it. Apologize meaningfully, respect boundaries, demonstrate through consistent actions that you value him as he is. But you don't get to force access through the courts. She banged the gavel. Over. We walked out into weak winter sunlight. Evan looked up at me. Is it really over? For now, yeah. Behind us, I could hear Mom crying. Caroline's voice rising. Dad trying to calm them. I didn't look back. The months that followed were quieter. No contact. No surprise visits. The extended order work. Evan turned 16 in February. Started driving lessons with hand controls. His robotics team took third at regionals. He got asked to prom. Life moved forward. Rob kept me updated. He lived 2 blocks from my parents and they still called him constantly. Caroline's business had closed in January. She'd moved back with my parents by mid-February, about 2 months after the court ruled. They'd been trying to sell the house since November. The home equity debt made it harder. By March, they'd dropped the price twice. Rob mentioned they'd asked him for money. He'd told them to work it out themselves. Then in late April, 10 months after the reunion, things shifted. Rob called. Caroline's planning something. Her ex-business partner reached out. Said Caroline's been telling people your son faked his disability. That she has proof. That's insane. Yeah, but she's desperate. Business collapsed. Living with parents who can barely afford their mortgage. I called Mary. Let her try, she said. We have medical records from 4 specialists. If she wants to accuse a disabled teenager of faking, she'll discover what defamation law looks like. The article appeared in early May, 11 months after the reunion. Small online publication. Headline: When Protection Becomes Control. One family's story. Carefully worded. No names, but enough details that anyone in our circle would know. Painted me as an overprotective father who'd weaponized his son's disability. Used edited quotes from anonymous family members. Left out everything that mattered. Kyle's video. The medical documentation. The unauthorized access attempts. The judge's ruling. Just enough truth to sound plausible. Just enough omission to change the story. It got shared. Not viral, but enough. Mary called after I forwarded it. I'm drafting a demand letter. Medical records, court transcripts, the video, everything they left out. How long will this take? Depends. Could be days, could be weeks. These publications sometimes dig in. The demand letter went out. Comprehensive evidence packet attached. 3 days passed. Nothing. Mary called the editor. Left a message. No callback. A week went by. The article kept getting shared. They're stalling, Mary said. I'm sending a second letter, making it clear we're prepared to file suit. The second letter went out. Stronger language. Deadline. 2 more days. Then the editor finally called Mary. We were provided documentation by the source. Your source provided partial information without context. You printed allegations about a minor without verification. You have 48 hours to retract, or we file suit. We need time to review. You've had 10 days. 48 hours. That's generous. The editor called Caroline. Asked her to provide documentation. She couldn't. The publication retracted the article 3 weeks after it was published, posted a correction noting they'd failed to verify claims, and apologizing for publishing unsubstantiated allegations. The retraction got less attention than the original article, but it was something. Evan's school hosted their Spring Accessibility Awareness Assembly in late May. Student organized. Evan had been part of the planning committee. The event featured students with disabilities sharing experiences, local advocates talking about rights. Evan was scheduled to speak third. I arrived early. Lindsay was already there. The gym was filling. That's when I saw them in the back row. My parents. Caroline. They'd come in through a side entrance. Caroline had convinced them. I could see it in their body language. Dad looking uncomfortable. Mom keeping her head down. Caroline sitting between them looking determined. Do we tell Evan? Lindsay asked quietly. No. Let him focus. Evan's turn came 30 minutes in. He rolled up to the microphone. Hi, I'm Evan. I'm 16. I use a wheelchair because of a spinal injury 18 months ago. I want to talk about something people don't usually discuss. Sometimes the hardest part isn't the disability. It's how people treat you because of it. He talked about accessibility, dignity, the difference between pity and respect, about performative concern versus actual support, about family members who use disabled people for inspiration content but won't make their homes accessible. When he finished, the applause was genuine. That's when Caroline stood up. She walked down the aisle toward the stage. Evan saw her coming. His expression didn't change. Evan, honey, she said. That was beautiful. I'm so proud of you. She reached for him. He backed his chair up. Don't. I'm your aunt. I love you. No, you don't. Caroline's expression shifted. I've been trying to be part of your life. The principal appeared with security. Ma'am, you need to step back. I'm his family. You're in violation of a court order. Step back now. I reached the stage, positioned myself between them. Leave. I have every right to be here. This is a public event. You're restricted from campus. You're violating a protective order. The security officer checked his screen. She's on the restricted list. Campus ban on file. Calling police now. That's not necessary, Caroline said quickly. No, I said. Call them. Document the violation. Caroline's careful expression cracked. You can't. I've done nothing but try and this is sick. You're sick. Evan looked directly at her. You took yourselves from me. Dad just stopped pretending it wasn't happening. Police arrived minutes later. School security provided footage. Officers' body cameras documented everything. My parents and Caroline were escorted out. That night, Lindsay showed me her phone. Students recorded it, posted it. It's spreading. The video was everywhere. Evan's whole speech, his calm response, his devastating line. The comments section had shifted. People who'd seen Caroline's curated social media now seeing the reality. Her performing concern, him setting boundaries, her playing victim when called out. The narrative was changing. The publication that had printed the hit piece issued a second statement, acknowledged they'd been manipulated, apologized more thoroughly. Caroline's remaining social media presence collapsed. She deleted everything within a week. My parents' house finally sold in June, 12 months after the reunion. Short sale. Massive loss. They moved to a smaller rental 3 towns over. Caroline moved with them. Disappeared from social media. Rob told me they'd made one final attempt to ask for money. He'd told them he'd consider it after they wrote real apologies. They never did. On a Tuesday evening in late June, my doorbell rang. Ring camera showed my dad. Alone. I opened the door but stayed in the doorway. What do you want? To apologize. Really apologize. I'm listening. We were wrong. About making the reunion inaccessible. About defending Caroline when she grabbed his wheelchair. About the $95,000 we gave her while telling you we couldn't afford a $3,000 cushion. About showing up at your house. About the court case. About the article. All of it. That's better. But I need it in writing. 1 page. Specific. No excuses. Just ownership. He nodded. I can do that. Does Mom feel the same? She's working on it. What about Caroline? I haven't spoken to her in 3 weeks, since the school thing. I let that settle. If you write that apology, and I mean really write it, Evan decides if he wants to read it. If he does, and if he agrees to meet, you get 1 hour. Public place. Mary present. 1 violation. 1 slip. And it's over permanently. That's fair. Make it better than what you just said. Own it specifically. Acknowledge the impact. He nodded. Your son's speech. I watched the video. He's remarkable. You and Lindsay did that. Yeah, we did. I closed the door. Inside, Evan had heard everything. What do you think? I asked. He was quiet for a long time. I think maybe Grandpa's starting to understand. But I'm not ready yet. Maybe in a few months. Maybe longer. Maybe never. That's up to you. What if the apology isn't good enough? Then we don't move forward. The bar isn't low. And if Mom never apologizes, then she doesn't get access. You don't owe anyone a relationship just because you're related. Evan nodded slowly. Okay, tell him I'll think about it, but I'm not promising anything. I texted my dad that night, told him Evan needed time, that if he was serious, he'd wait. He said he would. Whether he followed through wasn't my problem anymore. 3 months later, in September, 15 months after the reunion, Evan started junior year, made varsity robotics team, got his driver's license, started talking about college programs with strong engineering departments. That fall evening, the 3 of us sat on the back porch, listening to crickets, watching the last warm day fade. Got my college list narrowed down, Evan said. 5 schools with good accessibility and strong programs. When do applications open? Lindsay asked. October 1st. I'm ready. He looked at me. I don't feel like a burden here. That's the biggest difference. I'm just me. Not broken me or inspiring me or tragic me. Just Evan. That's all you ever were, I said. They just couldn't see it. We sat in comfortable silence. The kind that comes from people who actually know each other, who show up consistently, who don't need cameras or audiences. My job was simple. Protect my son. Make sure he knew his worth. Make sure he never accepted crumbs from people who should have given everything. We'd built that, not with dramatic confrontations or social media campaigns, but with 1,000 small choices. Protecting dignity over peace, enforcing boundaries over comfort, choosing his well-being over their feelings. The family we'd chosen, Lindsay, Evan, Uncle Rob, Coach Bennett, Kyle, Rachel, that was enough. Everything else was just noise. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps the channel and help us bring you more and better stories. Thanks.